So we've got, I believe, 2 races going on tonight. We've got a randomizer no Star World race, and we've got a randomizer all castles race. And I can talk to you guys a little bit about what that means. The no Star World category is Super Mario World's main warpless category. That's going to be a much more straightforward race in the way of, the goal of the players is just going to be reaching from the beginning of the game all the way to Bowser's Castle. All castles is a little bit more of an interesting category. In the normal Super Mario World game, the castles are neatly placed at the end of every world, so it's still pretty linear. In this one, castles can end up anywhere, so it's a big exploration, definitely a lot more what you're used to seeing, that sort of planning, risk-taking, that experience that you're used to from A Link to the Past Randomizer. So if you guys are new here, this is Bit Races. It's a game where we can, an interactive race where you will be cheering bits in order to get a balance that you can spend toward either affecting positively or negatively the racers in the game. Let's see, if you don't already, make sure that you check out Bit Races on Twitter. You can find them on @BitRacesGG. And that will give you information about all the races that are going on this channel, not specifically speed gaming, but the specific bit races that are going on. I'm Author Blues, for those of you who don't know, and we've got another commentary popping in pretty soon. I think we might end up having Sky Bills. So, all right, so we've got our other commentator here, Sky Bills.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
So we've got our first race coming up first. If I'm not mistaken, they're going to be starting with no Star World randomizer, which is a lot more straightforward. This is going to play a lot more to dodecahedron's strength because he is a much more well-versed vanilla Super Mario World speedrunner. But Grand Pooh Bear is at no lack of Super Mario World experience. He's run a number of Kaizo ROM hacks, which at one level or another is definitely a much more impressive feat. And I think that that's going to play out for him really well. That sort of patience and careful consideration when it comes to doing all castles. Castles can be hidden anywhere, and they're actually going to have to hunt them down, which is a real challenge in Super Mario World Randomizer. Yeah, so in Super Mario World Randomizer, there's a random chance that you'll get fun music. And fun is my definition. I get to decide what fun means.
That is the Author Blues portion of fun, by the way, just so y'all are aware.
This is good music. I like this music. This is good music.
I remember the first time you had me listen to this, and I cringed. I can't do it right now. This is, oh. Wait, is it like this the whole time?
Oh yeah, you won't stop hearing this.
Ah.
You could always turn it down on your end, I suppose.
I could, but that doesn't feel quite right, and I guess I gotta listen to this for the viewers here. So again, we have the first level as Chocolate Island 4. Is there a coincidence here, Off?
Oh, say that again?
We're starting out again on Pooh's end of the screen here in Chocolate Island 4. Is that a coincidence or what?
I mean, it's the luck of the draw. It randomizes 1 exit stages, and there's only a limited number of them that can appear in certain spots, so it's not uncommon necessarily to encounter a situation like this. Yeah, it looks like Pooh didn't start his live split timer, but I think he'll be okay. I think we can guess what his time is based on the one on the other side of the screen.
So meanwhile, again, Pooh working his way through Chocolate Island 4, gonna probably grab the power-up towards the end of the level. It's one of the few ones available.
So, are they going right on to all castles right now? I ask because there's no good reason for Dode to go this direction if he's not looking for castles.
I believe it would be all castles then, if that's the case.
Yeah, maybe someone in chat can confirm to me what they're, or not chat, but in Discord can confirm to me what race they're doing. That would be really helpful for commentating, but it looks like, if I had to guess based on Dode's actions, yeah, it looks like we're doing all castles right now, which is awesome. So it looks like Dode was having some specific trouble because he had his controls inverted by one of our crowd members. Definitely a frustration for him, considering he's an experienced Super Mario World player, but even the best of us probably can't handle having our controller messed with. So we are doing all castles. This means that there's really nowhere on this map that's safe. There's nowhere that's necessarily safe for us to avoid. So they're going to be checking every single possible corner.
So as stated previously, it is always good if you're doing all castles to go left immediately, because the entrance to Special World could be right there, and if you miss that out on that right at the beginning, you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to find it amongst all the other exits.
Yeah, it's possible that could cause some problems. So we do see a Star Warp here. He's going to take a look and see where this goes. So he sees Star World. He has to make the choice. Does he want to stick it out or no? And I think he decided no, he's just going to move on. I mean, there's always the possibility that the warp that he's looking for is actually in the middle of Star World now. Now, the Star Warps are sort of listed as in warps and out warps. So those other 4 that he saw in Star World, none of them are going to go to Special World. But, you know, if he had played through Star World, that would have uncovered where the other Star Warps were, and that might have been helpful information for him. He's going to have to decide, you know, how much information is he willing to throw away in an effort to make progress.
However, if the Center Star didn't go anywhere, and especially towards the beginning, because again, you have a 50-50 chance of where you're going in Star World being a wasted exit. So
there's potentially 10 exits.
Yeah, you could burn a ton of time in Star World at the beginning and give your opponent a massive lead, even if it does uncover it in the Overworld. That's great for that. You might be better off
taking another entrance to it, is what you're saying.
Right, exactly. I've seen a lot of people burn time that way. And
yeah, he entered at Star World 2, which means he would have had to beat at least 4 stages just in order to see what that warp was. You know, in expectation, since the exits have been randomized, that's like beating 6 levels. So he would have had to beat 6 levels just to see what was in the middle there. He might be better off just making progress in other directions.
And chat, and rightfully so, it was remarking something about Pooh's hammer suit, which is another thing that's new to the randomizer. Oth, do you want to talk about the hammer suit and its programming?
Yeah, so Kaiserman, who is the real brains behind Super Mario World Randomizer, he and I worked on this. I asked him if he could create a power-up that was different from Fire Flower, and we decided to give a shot and add Hammer Suit. So in this ROM right here, there is no Fire Flower. Hammer Suit replaces Fire Flower, and that's going to give him the ability to throw hammers. Now, they don't stay on screen for as long, so they have a little bit shorter range, but they do go up and down, which means that he can hit things above and below him, which might end up being very useful.
So, Oth, what kind of enemies does the Hammer Suit kill that the Fire Flower normally cannot kill?
Oh, so there's a lot of enemies that have been added to the list that can be killed by Hammer Suit. We figured the Hammer Suit is probably, objectively speaking, a little bit weaker than the Fire Flower, just in terms of how much mobility it has. With a Fire Flower, you can sort of keep a fireball in front of you to keep you safe, but you can't do the same thing with a hammer. And so to balance it out and make the Hammer Suit not necessarily a downside, we added some enemies to the list that can be killed by the hammer. So the hammer can now kill thwomps, thwimps, ghosts. It can kill all sorts of enemies that were never killable in Super Mario World before. Now they can be killed with the Hammer Suit.
Now, speaking of which, I believe Pooh has the Hammer Suit right now, but hammers do not work on the Koopa Kids the way that they work on, or the way fireballs work on them. So they obviously do have their limits, and that's one of the limits to not having Fire Flower there. But
yeah, they have no impact on bosses, which I think many people would argue that Super Mario World's bosses are definitely its weakest point. Compared to other games, the bosses in Super Mario World are really more of a joke than anything. And so taking away Fire Flower and forcing you to fight them, quote-unquote, the right way is at least a little bit of counterbalance to that.
Dode also making his way through Soda Lake. Now, Oth, I have to admit, I'm really happy this one's not an auto-scroller, because this is no fun when you're
Yeah,
in
Super
an
Mario World
auto-scroller.
Randomizer can actually add auto-scrollers to some levels. Not every level is doable with an auto-scroller added, so it's only a small number of levels that actually get that added to them. But Super Mario World Randomizer will add auto-scroller to a few levels, and Soda Lake is one of them. Let me tell you, Soda Lake with a auto-scroller added and having water removed it's something else.
So, Pooh, we just got a nice insight into the overworld. Again, very useful for all castles. We were talking about this before. And I noticed that a lot of the castles are actually on the projected path, but not every castle. So what does this mean? Some of them could be in Vanilla Dome, some of them could be in Forest of Illusion, others could be in Valley of Bowser, and hopefully not in Special World, because otherwise that makes this seed that much more difficult.
I think only one level in Vanilla Dome can possibly be a castle because of the fact that they're all 2 exit levels. So your odds of seeing a castle moved inside Forest of Illusions actually relatively low, but I think it's much more likely that we're going to see one of them end up inside Special World. And that's really important. When there's no castles inside Special World, this becomes really straightforward. But having a castle inside Special World means that even a really strong player, someone who's making great progress, one of these racers who might be ahead, all it takes is the other one finding Special World, and that can really change.
We have that oh so wonderful fanfare with that fun music involved.
I like that you call it fun, because it is.
Isn't that what you call it on the flags?
Yeah.
Ugh. Now, on Pooh's side, it is fortunate that he did find the key not in its intended spot because, well, Pooh just lost his Yoshi. Normally, if the key's in the intended spot, you need a Yoshi there. So, but no enemy to jump on. Ooh.
Yeah, so keys can move around in levels. That can be a real challenge, especially when a key moves into an area very close to the beginning. In Super Mario World, the keys were always, uninterestingly placed right next to the keyhole. And the randomizer can actually move it very far away, sometimes hide it inside blocks even, which can make it a real challenge to figure out where it is. You can find yourself in a level with a secret exit, find the keyhole, and just have no chance of finding the key to go into it. So every level is beatable. We don't know of any seeds or scenarios where a level just can't be completed, but levels can be made prohibitively difficult. Every single combination, things like adding an auto-scroller and removing water from a level, I promise that even if it seems impossible, at one point or another, I made sure someone could beat it, even if that someone was only dodecahedron.
Now, perhaps you can answer this. Why does one player have water and the other player does not have water?
So I think the crowd actually gave water physics to Dode, and I think the most interesting part of that is that as soon as it turns off, he's going to be in trouble. Man, I was really hoping I was going to get that sentence out before the water deactivated.
So what you're telling me is the chat did that to Dode.
Yeah, that was not Dode's fault. Dode is a great player. So you guys were talking about the airstrike earlier. You guys were talking about being a little bit disappointed that there weren't more bullets on screen with the airstrike. So Super Mario World is unfortunately a little bit strict about how many sprites can be on screen at one time. But in a level like this, if you see Dodecahedron right here, this level doesn't have as many sprites, and he was actually able to get a lot of bullets on screen. So a level like we saw earlier, Valley of Bowser 1, that level has a ton of things on screen at all times, so there weren't quite the sprite slots necessary to start throwing bullets on screen. But now that we're dealing with levels that are a little less packed out, we can really start to see that taking effect.
Yep, we did see that bullet bill strike at the end of the level, and I believe most of the effects, or a good portion of them, do take about a minute or so, but I believe that might change when the levels switch over.
I think it's going to be interesting as sort of we experience Super Mario World randomizer bit races. starting to explore whether or not airstrikes are actually a positive or a negative, because you could really view having all those bullets on screen as being a positive in the sense that first, sometimes it might despawn some other things, prevent other things from spawning. And in addition to that, it sort of gives you a platform to footstool up to higher ground. And so we might actually discover in time that the airstrike ends up being a bigger positive than it is a negative.
I will say this much: whoever contributed to that water effect happening in Valley of Bowser 4 was right on the money, because oh my goodness, did Dode pay for that one?
Yeah, that was a great moment.
And now we're going to see, so this is a very different level in Randomizer, actually one that I dread. So the one that Pooh is in right now, this is Star World 1. And you would normally think, okay, this level's not bad. However, when the key is hidden in this level, going from the bottom of the level to the top of the level is not easy. It's actually a pain half the time.
A lot of times in this level, you'll actually see the key end up at the bottom. The bottom of this level has a lot of sprites that can be swapped with the key. And so a lot of times you will discover the key at the bottom. And, I mean, I'm sorry, that's not my problem. You've got to end up getting it back to the top. That's a real challenge sometimes. So seeing how these players navigate that is going to be really interesting.
And absolutely, and even though the secret exits are great for skipping fanfare, in the case of stages like Star World 1, where it's difficult to get the key back to where it needs to be, you're going to see players go after some normal exits like that more often. Also, Pooh.
We've seen just one castle on either side, right?
I believe so, yeah. In Yoshi's Island, I think it was.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep better track of it. The randomizer doesn't have...
that was...
Oh. Grand Pooh Bear encountered the random sprite inside the Switch Palace. That green switch is going to be a big help to him, though. He wants it. He's got the thirst for that green Switch Palace. He knows what he needs to do. So Dode actually found Special World, and he found 2 castles in there. That's a great find this early on.
That's big, especially if Pooh doesn't go back to that right away. This could be a very, very, very big find for Dode. Also, this might be another water stage contributed by the crowd. I guess the crowd likes to make Dode swim.
And I'm going to be honest with you, this is a hell of a stage to end up with water physics, because as soon as, I bet you anything, Dode is holding onto that B button so he can float the moment the water deactivates. If I were him, I'd be terrified right now.
Wait for it. Oh, wait. I don't hear any water. Nope.
There it is.
Oh! Wow, chat does not like Dode today.
Oh, man. I love the chat. Thank you for providing this absolutely pure Mario gaming experience.
We saw that coming. I saw the end of the level. I didn't hear water anymore, and I'm like, oh no, Dode's gonna get it. And sure enough, just enough room for Dode to take the
You'll see it on screen. The screen will tell you when the water spell ends, but oh boy.
I believe that's chat 2, Dodecahedron 0. I'm just saying.
You hate to see that happen.
Chad is trying their darndest to help Grand Pooh Bear until he can find the entrance to Special World as well.
How many castles are in the game? Excellent question. There's 7 castles total, not counting Bowser's castle. So they will have to find all 7, and then the race ends when they get to Bowser's castle and defeat it.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Otham. Other than maybe if there's an all switches type race, which would also be a pretty cool category, actually. I believe most of the randomizer races are supposed to end with Bowser's Castle.
There's no randomizer categories that anyone has raced, to my knowledge, that are not ending at Bowser. And good thing for it, because Bowser's Castle is one of the most interesting parts of this randomizer. Pooh is making the trek back up with the key. I admire his persistence. I admire his dedication. It is hard. It is frustrating. It's difficult to get that key back up, especially when you are fighting your way through the blocks above you. Super Mario World forces you to only have 4 blocks spinning at a time. And so just getting to the top is an exercise in frustration.
Well, here's the other problem too. I've seen the blocks push me towards the center, and then the center
He
can
needs to
actually
just go
squish
straight
you.
up. He needs to just go straight up and then come back down, and he's got the right idea right now. Trying to fight your way to the side is frustrating and just doesn't pay off. He's making the right call. He comes down from the top. This is exactly how a seasoned SMW randomizer player would do it. This is what you want to see. Chat actually did Dode a huge favor this time with the water spell. This stage is such a frustration being on the ground, and you guys just gave him the freebie of the century. Dode is probably on his own, just saying a little prayer, saying, "I'm not even mad at you anymore. Thank you. Thank you for everything you've done." You hooked him up.
But what if it runs out at the wrong time, where he doesn't?
There
have
is
an
no wrong
escape?
time for this one.
There's no wrong time for this.
For this one, there's really, except for at the very end, there's no real pits. It's going to be really interesting if he's over that one pit when it cancels. But
Ooh, Pooh gets a water spell in Valley of Bowser 1.
this is not a level you want to see the water spell in.
You hate to see that happen.
It just slows him down so much. Alright, so as far as I know, chat, please update me, because we did not do a very good job keeping track in the beginning, and this randomizer was created by a real silly person, and does not tell you right now how many castles you have at this point. So, unless we've missed it, each of these players only has one castle. Dode actually has more information than Grand Pooh Bear, though. He knows where 2 more castles are. This is a huge deal.
I wouldn't say all the features are silly, Oth. You did have, what did you do? Didn't you add, like, a water current or something to the level? I mean, in addition to this lovely fun music and air quotes that you've created, didn't you do the air current, I believe? We haven't seen that yet, which, by the way, if you've ever seen the vanilla level of Mondo, there is a water current that goes up and goes down basically throughout the whole level, which is something maybe in the future that might be able to be implemented into the bits, because I think that's more challenging than adding pure water. Honestly.
Yeah, you have to be careful about adding that to levels, though. That's going to be a real challenge for the BitRacer dev to do. But Dode is now entering into his second castle. This is big. This is a big deal that Dode has found this. Now, Roy's castle is usually a stage that players just fly through, but Dode had that early information right there at the beginning. He knew right at the beginning that, oh, that was such a smart play.
Dode's just showing off now.
No, that was such a smart play right there. Releasing the cape early and jumping into it to get that small flight.
Now, I think this is important to know as well. I don't know how it works with the bit choices. However, there are certain stages, it's very rare, some stages cannot house water. And I believe one of those is Valley of Bowser 2 with the sandbar. Particularly that room, because I don't think it's possible to get past that room with water.
Yeah, it's been
involved.
tested. So when you guys see the sandbar room in Valley of Bowser 2, all you gotta do is turn on water and it's unbeatable. I probably shouldn't tell you that, but here we are.
So, Oth, you had continued a thought earlier, and I want this to be reinforced. You were saying something about Bowser's Castle being more difficult than usual and having a connection with timer issues in Bowser's Castle. Do you want to talk to him about that real quick? Because I always thought that was a funny story.
Yeah, so Bowser's Castle, if you played it in vanilla, you enter a lobby and you choose one of 4 rooms. And then once you beat that one, you go to a second lobby where you choose another of 4 rooms. In the randomizer, we just pick 8 random rooms and put them in a row, and that's what you deal with. That actually posed problems at the beginning, because the longest timer that Super Mario World supports wasn't really long enough for the average player to be able to beat the gauntlet. The gauntlet's what we refer to it as. And so part of the balancing process was figuring that out and actually removing the timer in that stage entirely just to make it playable.
Also, if we could pick a favorite of the chat right now, I just did see more water physics being funded by chat right now.
I think they really just like I do, I think they're really just stoked about how much fun the water physics have been for our players, and I don't blame them. I've been having a great time seeing these water physics take effect.
And on that note, too, chat really knows something about Super Mario World because they picked a handful of levels that are very difficult to complete with water elements, especially with them randomly turning off. That's something that I've never seen in Randomizer before.
So why is Grand Pooh Bear coming back in here and beating this level again? Didn't we already see him beat this? Or did he not beat it? Did he die?
I don't think he might have even died or maybe had not gotten the key there or something. But anyways, there's Pooh completing the secret exit while Dode is going through the first room of Ludwig's castle. And Pooh still has no idea where the entrance to Special might be. Also, off making the first room of Ludwig's difficult, he can adjust the speed of these ball and chains here. And as you can see, they are a pain in the butt. And now Crouch's inverted controls on top of this. Y'all are evil. But I like it.
Well, this is rough.
This is rough.
So that room is particularly challenging when chat gets a hold of it.
And boy, did they. Now, there again was a nice example of the hammer actually taking down the thwomp there. Well done with the programming on Kaizoman's part. Shouts to Kaizoman.
For sure. Grand Pooh Bear didn't start his timer, but his timer is exactly the same as Dodecahedron's timer, so if you're wondering what his time is, I would just look at that other side. This is really fascinating watching the very quick switches on and off of the water effects. You know, the water physics have proven to be a chat favorite, and for a good reason. For some of those levels, it's a huge troll, either because it slows you down on a level that should be relatively effortless, or because in some cases you end up with a situation where you know, they could be unsuspecting, just jumping over or swimming over a level, and then the water lets out and you fall to your death. So far it's been two great effects of it. I hope we see more. You hate to see it like you're seeing on Grand Pooh Bear's side.
Well, chat has chosen Pooh again for water physics, and chat did inform me that Pooh did take a game over at some point. That's why we had seen that exit again. Awesome.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
That explains it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we must have just missed that in the fray. So that's 3 castles now by Dode, if my count is correct.
Yep.
And Dode's got a lot of extra information. I mean, when it comes to all castles, the big deal breaker more often than not is who finds Special World and how early do you find Special World. And not only did Dode find it early, but he's pretty much already cleared it out, which gives him a really pronounced advantage. It doesn't necessarily mean that's it for him, but he's going to go back and he's going to get to make some progress. Pooh's working his way through this sub-level. He's trying to find the exit to this level. I don't know if he knows where the other potential exit to this level is. So there's 2 pipes in this stage that can end up with the exit in it. Not because they're pre-designed that way, but just by virtue of the way the randomization ends up working.
Also, I didn't want to leave out the fact that Pooh had gotten out of a really sticky situation with those charging chucks earlier, especially once the water physics got removed. So well done to Grand Pooh Bear for getting through that level. For
sure. The water physics can be really challenging, especially in such tight quarters like that. I mean, it just really goes to show how patient Grand Pooh Bear is in the face of the struggle like that, and that's really important. Pooh is absolutely an SMW player, and quite an accomplished one as well. He doesn't play a lot of vanilla, but his Kaizo experience comes into play a lot here. You know, Dode ends up having the experience and the knowledge of the vanilla levels maybe a little bit more, but at the end of the day, they're both having to make on-the-fly choices, and I think that Kaizo experience really just ends up matching them up quite a lot, the both of them.
I think the most challenging thing we've seen so far in the choices that chat has forced them to make is what are they going to do once water expires? And you never know when it's going to happen. So that puts both players in a very difficult situation.
Absolutely. It's going to be funny if the sandbar room ends up being mandatory for our players, just seeing chat, you know, hold them at a halt just keeping the water on, trying to keep one person at bay.
Now, I wonder if in the future, for times like that, if there's going to be a possible way to remove the water from the stages as well, as to whether chat added the water or as to whether the game added the water. Because imagine removing the water in one of those water stages.
Oh, absolutely. You know, maybe something like a drought spell where any level that was supposed to have water, it just dries up instantly, including, you know, level water or something like that.
Tough break for Dode there. He had the water in the beginning. I don't think he would have been able to progress in this level with water in it. So, Chat held Dode at bay for a little while there.
You can't spin jump in the water. I don't know if you guys knew that, but you want to bring this show to a halt. That's one way to do it. You can absolutely add some water here for problems.
Well, once Dode's at the bottom, though, it won't mean anything. But if Chat can catch Dode while he's at the top of the stage, Dode will not be able to go anywhere. And there goes. I believe Dode won't be able to power through this. He'll have to go down. Oh! Oh my goodness, the key got trapped in the blocks thanks to Chat's water spell.
Is he going to be able to get it back easily?
Oh, he could die.
Oh, don't kill yourself over this, Dode.
Oh my goodness.
He's close. He's close. He wants that key. He can taste the key. He just can't get to it.
Well done, Chat. Once more, just picking the right stages to do these during. Oh, Dode's got it. Oh! He's
gonna be spinning his way through these blocks this time, assuming the water holds up for a little bit longer. He's gonna be very close to the wall. This could be really dangerous for him, honestly.
I don't know if he's gonna be able to get that without dying in the middle off. I don't know.
It just wore off for him. And another water spell. Well, it allowed him to get the key eventually, so...
Well, hats off to Dode for doing that, because I don't know too many people who would have the patience to deal with something like that.
Dode definitely made it work. It took him some time, but it made it work.
Now, this would be another interesting choice. What if they did something to convert Mario into Balloon at any point?
I mean, that certainly is something they could do.
That would be terrifying. Because Mario can't hold anything when he's in balloon form. So if Mario's holding a key, and all of a sudden he turns into balloon form and he's jumping over a pit, that's not too good. So Chad casting another water spell on Dode in Valley of Bowser 1, which when we saw that on Pooh's end, we know that that's not good news for either of the players. And Dode's about to head into possible chuck point here. Water faded, which was good news for Dode, but who knows what's going to happen next.
Yeah, for those of you who are wondering what's going on right now, we are doing an interactive bit race. This is a promotional race with two racers who are playing Super Mario World Randomizer, and the chat can actually affect what's going on in the level by cheering bits in chat to earn game credit and spending that credit on different effects. Right here you can see instances of players having water added to the level, being given power-ups, or Yoshis having time added or taken away, and all of those effects can be affected to either player or both of them. There's situations where you can invert controls, things like that, and it's just a lot of fun. We invite you to take part. If you're new here, if you're just popping in and seeing what's going on, you can type !free in the chat to get free credit if you haven't gotten it yet. You always have the access to get 50 free bits worth of game credit per race, and you can use that to help fund effects. You know, the crowd can put their resources together to find ways to mess with the players or help them out if they look like they need it.
Also, Chad, feel free to let us know how you heard about Bit Race. If it was a previous race or through Twitter or something like that, let us know so we know how to get a hold of everybody in the future as well for when we do these.
Yeah, check that out on Twitter at bitracesgg. That's BITRACESGG on Twitter. And that'll be a good way for you to find out, what other events are going on, how you can get involved if you're interested in this sort of thing. The team has been working on this, has been working really hard, and there's a lot of really great projects coming down the line, so definitely check it out. Looks like we got another water spell. Dode is, we've been seeing a lot of Valley of Bowser 1 tonight. I feel like Valley of Bowser 1 has been the level to see, and the water spell is not doing anyone any favors here.
I still prefer the water spell in Valley of Bowser 4. But if you're wondering who's on comms, the lovely person I'm with in the comms is Author Blues. He is one of the developers of Super Mario World Randomizer, the other one being Kaiserman. Shoutouts to Kaiserman as well. And how long ago was it that you've developed this randomizer? It feels like it's been quite a bit with all the updates.
I think it started in 2014, maybe. It's been a long time. We've had a major rewrite in progress for like 2 years and just have never gotten around to updating it. But maybe one day, if you guys get excited, you guys like Super Mario World Randomizer, you want to see more neat ideas, maybe we can get this whole bad boy resurrected and keep it going. So.
And speaking of people, also, please follow both of these awesome runners as well, Dodecahedron and Grand Pooh Bear. Both worth it, I assure you. Both very talented Kaizo runners and are just absolutely killing it on this randomizer. Most of us run games on console, so playing these on other means is very difficult for us. So
yeah, definitely understand that these guys are both world-class players in their own right, and having to play on emulator is much more of a setback than you think it is, especially for seasoned speedrunners who are used to having, instantaneous response for every button they press. Playing on emulator is a huge challenge, so big shout out to these guys playing as well as they actually are under these circumstances. Super Mario World Randomizer is already tough. Super Mario World's already tough. Adding emulator is tough. The effects that you guys are having are tough. These guys are playing out of their mind, all things considered. So.
Speaking of playing out of their mind, not this loop around, but the cycle before this on Ludwig, Pooh actually did perform what we call a cycle skip. So what happens is if Pooh can hit Ludwig before he hits the ground, unfortunately couldn't there because Ludwig jumped off screen, he avoids the flame cycle, and Pooh's done that a couple times already. It's just Ludwig is taking a lot of hits this time around.
Yeah, I think this Ludwig has something like 7 or 8 hits right now, it looks like.
Yep, and there was the cycle skip. Unfortunately, it was the final hit, but it was still a demonstration of the cycle skip.
Yeah, boss health is random. Usually the boss has 3 hit points, technically. I don't want to get into it, but typically the boss has 3 hit points. Randomizer can change that anywhere from 2 to 9, so, that can really change the way the race works.
I am getting so many horrendous ideas as to what the chat should eventually change in the future for this bot. Like, there are so many different things I can think of, and water physics are probably only the beginning, honestly. This is awesome. Let's see what we have here. Dode is in currently Forest of Illusion 1, and Pooh making his way across the butter bridges, or the Overworld butter bridges, ends up in what it looks like Donut Plains 4.
Yep, that's what it looks like to me too. So Dode getting access to a blue Yoshi here, but ultimately that doesn't matter. Blue Yoshi means nothing when it comes to Randomizer, because the effects that different color shells have on different color Yoshis is completely randomized. Now that doesn't mean that blue Yoshi might just ultimately end up being a fire Yoshi. That doesn't mean blue necessarily maps to fire. It means that all of the pairings are completely randomized. That means that a red Yoshi with a green shell could be a completely different thing from a green Yoshi with a red shell. All the pairing, the entire table of pairings is completely randomized in this way.
Yeah, again, and as a quick recap, keep in mind that Dode is actually the person who's ahead right now due to the fact that he found Special World, and that had at least 2 castles in it, I believe. So
yeah, I believe if my Casual note-taking is correct. I believe Dode has 3 castles and Pooh has 2, but Dode found Special World. All the other castles are pretty much on the path, so that means that Pooh is actually a little bit behind in terms of knowledge. You know, finding Special World can be such a huge swing for this, so... Looks like Dode just got his controls reversed. Good. You'll like to see that happen.
Wow, off. Yeah, swimming underwater with reverse controls, that doesn't feel quite right. Now here comes Grand Pooh Bear. Does Pooh try to do a trick here? Does he do Raskif? Does he do anything associated with trying to skip the ride of shame here?
I imagine he's ultimately going to try out different Yoshis with different, ultimately different, the shell that's right before the Yoshi after the Midway tape. Okay, so apparently I was wrong. The Yoshi color abilities was not randomized in this ROM, though that is always an option. In this particular ROM, it looks like it was not randomized, so they can trust in the blue Yoshi to do the thing they want for blue Yoshi, and on in that way.
Looks like Pooh also decided to go with the safe strat here with the shell, as you were just talking about, Oth, so probably well done, especially considering what if Pooh's power-up were to suddenly change? Probably not good for him, so good idea to stand the Yoshi here in this case.
Yeah, no doubt.
Dode getting the extra cape there. Can't say I blame him. As Pooh has what looks to be, or what appears to be, ice physics in the first room of Wendy's castle, and oof, they definitely did him in there. Not an easy place to try to do a cape cancel past the saw blades, for sure.
You hate to see that happen.
I would hate to see that happen.
Looks like everyone's trying to donate some money for water physics. I think you'll find that this is one heck of a stage to be giving away water physics.
Yeah, actually, because of the Crusher section, Pooh's gonna have to probably make more stops than he would like to make if the water physics were to activate here soon. Can Pooh make it through? Nope. The saw blade did get him before he could make it out of the Crusher section. Now, Oth, I believe, according to the list of commands here, I believe 1-ups can be given to a player.
Yeah, we saw earlier Grand Pooh Bear was actually given a 3-up, which is a huge benefit, especially if you're finding yourself struggling with a specific level. You know, getting a little boost of extra lives can be a huge help to just power through it without having to worry about gaming over. That's one way that the audience can actually help quite a lot with a player who might be struggling a little bit. Now, we haven't really seen Grand Pooh Bear struggling a whole lot. He had a little bit of trouble earlier and did end up with a game over, but since then, he hasn't really been having any problems, and I don't expect we'll see him with a lot more problems than that.
Did you see the amount of lives Dode has, by the way?
Yeah, he's been stopping and collecting every single life he comes across, which is sort of a neat idea, but I think at this point you could probably cut back on that.
It's a good question. Chad asked how much for orb give. I don't think that's a feature right now, but it's an interesting one to think about.
I think it is on the menu. It's pretty expensive. I don't know if it got added, but we were talking about it before. We said it needed to be pretty expensive if you were going to be able to give away an orb.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it right now. However, speaking of chat commands, look at what poor Pooh has gotten himself into right now.
Yeah, I guess we don't have orb yet, but there's a lot of other things that are going to give some of the same impact. You know, being able to do things like giving water physics in a level where, the stage is difficult so you can just swim over it. That's going to be a huge help.
Yeah, but Pooh right here is stuck in the Castle Crusher room, Off.
Yeah, he has no chance. He just has to wait it out. He has to wait for the water to wear off. You can actually see sort of an interesting thing here. There's a little graphical glitch that happens in this boss fight in particular whenever there's water. There's a little graphical glitch that happens on the background. Just a neat little tidbit, because the bubble that comes out of Mario's mouth ends up overriding another sprite, so... And
there goes Pooh. Oh, and makes it past the Crusher. Well done,
Pooh. I thought we were going to see him not make it past that crusher, but he made it.
He made it, but
unfortunately, that Iggy was so the way that Iggy's difficulty is randomized is actually that when you jump on him, how much he moves. Iggy doesn't have any health in this game, and so the only way to really randomize him is how far he moves at a time, and so that is how he is changed.
Here goes Pooh again. Now, fortunately for Pooh, that room is actually pretty easy to make it through when you're small Mario, or in this case, Luigi only, so...
So Grand Pooh Bear is going to want to be patient here, just wait for it to tip back and then see if he can finish him off. You got to be really careful, though. It's very disorienting how little Iggy actually moves, and so it's very easy to end up too close to him and taking a hit like that. For a player who has played this game a lot, these little changes to things like Iggy's movement actually play a bigger effect than you think.
Now, I wonder if one of the variants on the Bullet Bill Airstrike that's on the menu is the diagonal Bullet Bills that we see in Vanilla Dome 4. That certainly would be quite the airstrike.
So Grand Pooh Bear is having a little bit of trouble with Iggy, and that's not surprising. This is probably one of the most difficult settings you can get for... Oh, wow. I'm not sure what Dode was going for there. He had ice physics activated, and he just, like, tossed his Yoshi. I'm not sure what that was all about.
Yoshi was trying... he was trying to get a Yoshi fly, and what had happened was, in the middle of the ice physics, Chad activated a reverse controls, inverted controls, in the middle of him doing that. Yep, that's exactly what it was. Screen said so.
Looked like it was ice physics to me, but...
It was a combination of ice physics and inverted controls when he was in the middle of doing the Yoshi fly there to avoid the Ride of Shame.
That's tough.
So that was double duty there by the chat there to put both of those elements in there to complicate the I won't call it Rasket.
Ice physics in this room that Pooh's in can be really challenging. I'm glad that we don't have ice physics right this second. I'm hoping we see him make it through this Iggy. This is probably the hardest setting you can end up with Iggy, and he's struggling with it, but really not surprised by it. This gives a lot of seasoned players a lot of trouble. And there we go, Grand Pooh Bear went ahead and finished that one off. Sorry, Dode, you can't kill Bullet Bills with hammers. You're stuck.
Oh, and now Dode has a water spell. I would not trust this water spell to make it across this.
So the water spell's gonna last a minute.
Yeah.
I think he has enough time to make it across, but if I were Dode, I would just move the platform and just ride it. I think he's gonna take a crack at it. I think with Yoshi, that means that even if it deactivates, he could probably still jump to safety. But I feel like a minute's going to be more than enough time for him. That airstrike's really cool. It seems to have a bigger effect than you might think, especially when the player is forced to go a little bit slower, like we saw there with the water. He was having to be really careful of those bullet bills.
It looks like Pooh wants to do wings here. Yep. Wait, no! I thought Pooh was going to go for wings there for sure. So what I thought Pooh was going to do was dupe a block to get Yoshi wings, but not in this case. So Pooh instead going into the rest of Vanilla Dome 1 here does not take the star. So that's going to make this part of the level a bit more difficult. Pooh gets past it without too much of an issue. Alright, so Dode making it past room 1 of what would normally be Wendy's castle, no big deal. Let's see if Dode gets hung up by any elements here the way Pooh did. Dode taking an early hit there. I guess he was afraid of a bullet bill strike of some kind there. But here comes Iggy again. Dode's thrown off a little bit here, but seems to have a pretty decent handle on the fight so far. Oh, and Dode does a slide tackle into the fireball. And this can also be done on Bowser's bowling ball type projectiles during the Bowser fight. Nonetheless, great fight for Dode. Doing some dangerous strats there and paying off.
So good question. Dode actually isn't losing right now. Dode already found 2 additional castles that Grand Pooh Bear doesn't know about yet. So we may see Grand Pooh Bear get toward the end, realize he doesn't have all the castles, and have to go back and figure it out.
So, Pooh in a bit of a predicament here. He is currently in Valley Ghost House, and didn't have a feather, so he's got to do it the more difficult way via the coin snake, and he makes it through.
I'm actually really pleased to see that he knew how to get through there with the coin snake. A lot of players who speedrun this game aren't really familiar with how high you have to get that coin snake. You know, what's the right positioning for it, so. Yeah, we're currently playing all castles. Dode has already found Special World, which gives him a little bit of an advantage right now. He has 2 additional castles that Grand Pooh Bear hasn't found yet. So I think that puts us right now at Pooh having 3 castles and Dode having 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and I believe Dode has completed quite a few more stages than Pooh has as well, especially because of the Special World accounts too, because I believe the second castle in Special World wasn't until later on in the world, so Dode had to complete quite a few levels just to get to both castles within Special World.
Grand Pooh Bear doing an excellent job of just sort of, item flying his way through Force of Illusion 3, Force of Illusion 4. Some of these stages can really cause a lot of problems once you introduce items to them. Not knowing what you need to carry around in order to make progress, that can be a real challenge. So just sort of improvising along the way. And I think that's one of the things that makes Super Mario World Randomizer really interesting, is that for a game like A Link to the Past Randomizer, I think a lot of the novelty comes down to sort of innovative routing and decision making on the fly. And I think in a lot of ways Super Mario World has that, because you end up in a situation where you encounter something on a level and you have to say, do I need to take this with me or not? And a lot of times that ends up deviating from your initial plan.
I didn't want this to go unnoticed, by the way, on a very quick note, but some of the swag that Pooh has shown prior to this water spell in Chocolate Fortress, very impressive. Pooh has a very good control over the cape. And now swimming physics playing a huge role in Morton's Castle Room 2, which by Pooh not having a cave, this room should normally take quite some time, but it looks like Pooh's going to be able to get past this first section here without much issue, thanks to the water spell. So, and this is a classic case of the water spell actually helping out here. Also, I didn't even know that part was up there that Pooh just swam to.
Yeah, this water's doing Pooh a lot of favors right now.
I hope it doesn't wear out when he's around the spikes. That could be trouble. Nope. Helped him get through the whole ascension section of Morton's Castle Room 2. Ooh, and now we have a fast-spinning Reznor. I don't believe we've seen this one so far. Underwater, too.
Yeah, it's actually funny. Reznor was made faster in the randomizer at times because we wanted to make him more challenging. But in reality, in a lot of different ways, fast Reznor can be easier than normal Reznor.
Just not in this case right now.
Right now, he's fighting against Reznor the wrong direction. Ultimately, he would probably want to go from the other way, but he runs the risk of getting clipped by one of the platforms. So he's taking his time, he's trying to make good decisions, and he does, and he finishes it off.
Nice clutch fight, and also another example of the water spell paying off. Look at Dode here in Star World 5 off.
Yep. Hopefully that doesn't wear off at a bad time for him.
And we find out that the key is indeed not in its proper place. I'm willing to bet it's at the end of this level. Dode, you better get onto a platform soon. Dode cannot seem to find the key, or he wants the vanilla exit, looking like the normal exit, excuse me.
Yeah, he's gonna have to take a look out for the key throughout the level. There's a few spots that it can be in, but it can be very challenging to find it. Yeah, fun fact about the Reznor fireballs, their hitboxes are actually incredibly small. They're roughly the size of a Mario fireball, but they're drawn much bigger on screen. So that's the secret of Super Mario World Randomizer for you, or of Super Mario World for you.
So right here, no problem for Dode. Key is in its intended spot there.
I think Grand Pooh Bear is trying to set up for a shell jump, which I think he could definitely pull off.
Ooh, and Dode grabs the other exit, something he has no interest in doing, so he's gonna have to go get to the other exit now, exit the stage in its proper state. Although, I believe that's just going through the gold tape here, so really not a huge deal. So, Pooh would benefit from a shell jump, but what would be nice right now in this instance for Pooh in terms of where he wants to go is a water spell so he could swim up there.
Yeah, he was definitely wanting a water spell. He was begging for it, guys.
It would have helped there.
It would have.
Now, here's another unfortunate effect of all castles if you don't find Special World right away. Pooh has cleared out the left half of Forest of Illusion, hoping that the entrance over by what would normally be Forest Fortress would be the entrance to, not Star World, Special World. We know that that's not the case, that it's not going to go to Special World, because that was earlier on. Where was that? Vanilla
I think it was in
Palace?
I think it was in Donut Plains. I don't remember exactly where it was.
Yeah, I think it was the Green Switch Palace, where that normally is the entrance to Special World.
And thanks to Fishing Lakitu here for handing out some free power-ups.
Ooh, and here's the bullet bill generator for Dode. Not
Dode's
a nice
actually-
place to put it.
Dode's actually in good shape right now because he's in a room that has a lot of... he's in these rooms that have a lot of sprites already, so the sprite slots are taken up and the error rate isn't going to cause as many problems.
Pooh not finding the sub-level nor exit that he's looking for here in Forest of Illusion 4. However, Dode, dealing with Reznor, dealing with a fast-spinning Reznor, and makes it. Impressive fight for Dode.
Very nice.
Meanwhile, Pooh trying to navigate through Forest of Illusion right now, finding the same Star World 5 that we saw Dode in a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, chat's actually pointing out something really good. Our players have been really good sports and are actually continuing to play when they encounter inverted controls. It would be really easy for someone to just say, I'll wait for them to go away. But our players are toughing it out. They're saying, you know what, we'll keep going. I'm sure we'll be able to tough our way through it. Grand Pooh Bear finds the key, but now that he doesn't have a power-up, and it's going to be really hard for him to get that cloud off of the Lakitu, he's going to find it hard to actually get that key up to where it needs to go. Lakitu is a little bit weird in that if you just stomp on his head, you don't get his cloud. You actually have to either kill him with a fireball or throw an item at him. You know, there are only a few options you have to how to get his cloud. So if that's Grand Pooh Bear's goal,
So Dode just completed Chocolate Island 5, and he should be in pretty good shape in terms of routing for the end of this race. All the castles are in a linear order for Dode since he found Special World so early. Dode doesn't have to go on any special routes or anything like that. All he has to do is just follow the projected path, and he should be able to finish this without much issue. Pooh, on the other hand, is still looking for Special World at this point because all the castles are required to complete this race.
Yeah, Chocolate Island 2, with its random rooms, can be a little bit frustrating for randomizer players. You have to figure out what the mapping is for the rooms and how to get to the exit that you're trying to get to. But, you know, Dode has seen it all at this point. He's played a lot of Super Mario World Randomizer in his time, and he actually knows how to work out the plan.
Right, so Pooh right now still needs to go through all of the exits necessary to try to deduce where exactly Special World can be. Dode is trying to figure out where to go in Chocolate Island 2 because there are many different ways to get different rooms in Chocolate Island 2, and all of them are manipulated by the clock. So, Oth, do you want to give the times of that? I believe it's, well, like 70-something, 73 or something? They're kind of odd times.
Yeah, the typical room times are, 274 and 240, or 234, or 269 and 234. I can't remember exactly. It's been too long since I played Super Mario World. But the pipe that leaves the second room is actually impacted by what the time is on the clock. You'll see Dode here waiting until the clock says 234.
And Dode says, I've seen this room before. So he's going to use the start and select option to use the second designated time to enter the second pipe. And that should get him to where he needs to go.
Yeah, so I think Dode had previously tried the second time. I think he's having a hard time getting to the pipe fast enough. I think that's the issue he's having.
Dode should be able to get the time he needs this time around. He knows to wait until 2:49. And now Dode has arrived at the secret exit, which was the one he needed. And sure enough, there's one of the castles left that Dode needs.
That's a pretty common place for a castle to end up. Both of the stages that are on the cliffs in Valley of Bowser are one exit levels, and so it's pretty common for one of them to end up being a castle, which is kind of interesting on its own because you'll end up having, for instance, in Chocolate Island, where pretty much every stage only has one exit, you'll end up with a situation where you have to go to Chocolate Secret and you have to go to, you have to beat the entirety of Chocolate Island to get to where you're trying to go.
So here's an interesting element I feel like Osh should describe a bit more in detail. Osh, do you want to describe what happens when the water meets the current water, like what poor Pooh is going through right now in Butterbridge 1?
Yeah, so the current in this stage causes the effect of making any water that Pooh touches push him backwards, which means that now that the entire level is filled with water, that means it's all water with a current. And so he's actually, it's going to take him forever to swim through this.
And Dode was lucky, and I believe he had a shell of some kind to swim through this level.
So Pooh has actually just sent a blue Yoshi. It's not going to do him a lot of good right this second. But as soon as he gets out of this level, that should help him make some progress.
I really like how that's in the item box. I've actually never seen that before.
Yeah, that's special to bit races.
Pooh at least was able to obtain a power-up there, not bad. But because there really is no land in this stage, it's really difficult for Pooh to be able to get that shell to swim faster.
Yeah, this is not an ideal circumstance for him trying to make it through this level fast. I mean, he's, as you can see, he's sort of accepted his fate and he's just pushing his way through. He will get to the end. So much perseverance here.
Looks like Dode's gonna go for Wing Factory off. Oh!
Yeah, Dode tried to cheat his way through this level, but ended up having to play it the normal way, so...
Oh! This is such a difficult route to take without knowing what's gonna be there.
Oh my god.
Oh! It gets
He
the
tried
shell.
to salvage it. He tried to.
That was impressive. And as Dode died, an airstrike was sent for him.
And then immediately on the other side, Grand Pooh Bear had an airstrike sent for him. People are enjoying the airstrikes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of players who speedrun this game may not be comfortable doing this level as intended. This can be a very challenging level to do normally. But Dode is a seasoned veteran and knows exactly how to handle this level vanilla, and so this will not cause any problems for him. An interesting side effect here is that having Balloon Mario form counts as having an item in your hand, and so you actually get a power-up at the end of the level when you beat it if you still have Balloon Mario.
So, Oth, while we're in between stages here, what element would you not like to see? And as a bonus, in what level would you not like to see that in? Mine, of course, is Water and Valley of Bowser 2 in the Sandbar Room.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, any effect that is going to just end it instantly is going to be unfortunate to see. You know, getting water right in the middle of the Sandbar Room, getting water in a room with crushers or spikes. I think any of those situations are going to be really challenging to deal with and really frustrating for the players as well who just want to make some progress. Their Dode tried to spin jump on a dry spiny and found out that when you spin jump on a dry spiny, it does not have the intended effect.
I would also be afraid of inverted controls. And both these players are being wonderful sports, trying to play out the controls like you were talking about before, so I think that's another one that would really slow down both the players, honestly.
I think in future races, we might see some of the players trying out, in these races, we might see the players trying out things like removing water from stages. Right now, for good reason, we're not using that setting. That can be a really challenging setting, but for really seasoned players who are willing to take the chance, that could be really interesting to see how that plays out, especially if you end up in a situation where a level has water removed by the randomizer, and it's causing a big problem, and then chat gives them water to help them get through it. Dode is trying again to make it through Lemmy's Castle Room 2 quickly, finding that rushing this is not going to do him any favors.
I think he's hoping for a power-up right now, especially to get past the room with the Magic Koopa in it, which is facilitated by a cape.
Feels like he'd be better off going back to a previous stage to get a power-up, but, you know, I can't argue with his methods. You know, he's a Kaizo expert and a randomizer expert, and one thing that you'll see a lot of those types of players do is they're not so concerned with exactly what their power-ups are because they know that they can make it work in any case. So here you're going to see Dode say, you know, I would probably be better off with a power-up, but I can make it through this. He trusts in his own skill.
Ooh, water physics. Help or hurt here? I think it helps dodge Magic Koopa a little easier.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't kill Magic Koopa accidentally, I think that that's going to end up helping him in the long run. He's kind of past the point where that could really screw him over. Just taking his time here, I think is going to end up making this really doable.
Oh, it just is chat.
He was sent a flower and then immediately.
Oh, the feather, no. Whoever did that, though, that was awesome. And you tried, but poor Dode couldn't make it. Oh, but no, Dode's now going to try to go through the sub-level here to see if that might help out. And he gets a midway tape. Not too shabby.
Ultimately pointless since this level doesn't have a midway set, but...
Oof. I was gonna say that was gonna be rough.
I think the feather is gonna do him more favors than anything else. The midway tape actually is completely pointless in this case because this level, that intro, Morton's Castle, doesn't have a midway point set, so...
Oh, there we go. There's the screen scrolling. I wondered when he was going to do that, but that makes this room way easier. And there's the double cape, so... Whoever did that for Dode, I'm sure Dode is very grateful right now.
So here we see Morton. Morton's walls don't move in, so this fight's going to be pretty straightforward.
And now Pooh Bear in Groovy right now, with a ton of Super Koopas, might I add. I think Pooh's got this. This is a very tough level when the Super Koopa generator's in there. Ah! Couldn't quite catch the cave in time.
So if you guys are new here, if you haven't really seen what's going on, what we're doing here, this is actually an interactive race that's going on right now in front of you. Your bits have an effect on the racers that are going on. You can, if you're new to the chat, you can type !free to earn some promotional credit for the game, 50 bits worth of promotional credit. Or if you would like to contribute your own, you can contribute, you can cheer bits in chat to get game credit in order to spend on different effects for the players. And you can use that either on your own, you can spend your game credit, trade your game credit in order to have different effects, or alternatively, you can pool it together with other people by funding different events.
Oh, and the inversion of the D-pad by the chat in the middle of what it looks like. This is Vanilla Ghost House here.
Not a great time for him, but...
Dode is flying backwards right now in terms of the D-pad. This is amazing looking. Oh my goodness. What a show of skill by Dode right now.
Ooh, yikes.
He couldn't dive bomb soon enough. And I think Dode's gonna just wait this one out. Oh. And if I recall properly, those inverted controls do last for about a minute. Feels like forever.
Yeah, it can be pretty rough. Here we see Dode fighting his way through this room. Usually this room is full of toxic green bubbles, but those seem to have been replaced by booze, so not a big issue there. Dode took a gamble on the two doors that were in that room. One of them was going to take him to the end of the level, and one of them was going to make him redo the level, and it was going to be random which one. He took a shot, and he was wrong, so...
Dode tried to dupe that block back there, too, to try to get multiple power-ups out of it. I think both of our players are having a little bit of trouble actually duplicating blocks because it's very tight timing, and they're both playing on emulator, which they're not used to. Alright, Dode finding the right exit with a 3-up moon on top of that.
Hey, you can't complain about that.
Nope, never. Especially in this mode.
Free lives.
And speaking of players or racers that know how to use coin snakes, Pooh Bear here using the coin snake. Not something we get to see too often.
Yeah, Pooh's showing a lot of patience. He's going to use that coin snake. I think he's going to try to get to the top path here. He's determined to make it up to where the secret exit is. Unfortunately, once he gets there, I'm not sure he's going to have the key that he needs, so I'm not sure what his plan actually is. hopefully we see him come up with a plan for how to get the key up there, because he's either going to need a cape or he's going to need a shell to kill the Lakitu or something like that. He's going to need some way to get that key up there, but...
Dode having kind of similar issues right now, but at least since he did get the Green Switch Palace, and again, Oth was emphasizing this earlier, the Green Switch Palace is one of those detours you want to take in Randomizer for reasons like this. And nice dupe by Dode.
But maybe not what he wanted, because now he can't run up that wall.
Oh, Dode. Yeah, but he can take off with the feather. He'll just have to go back. Yeah.
He really badly wants to get another cape, but he was having a hard time doing so.
Now Pooh ending up in a place no player racer ever wants to end up in, and that is Tubular, the dreaded Tubular level. Tubular is a little easier when you have water, however, obstacles become more difficult to dodge than usual. So we'll see how Pooh handles these obstacles.
It looks like he's handling it pretty well. This stage is a challenge for even the most seasoned player, though.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, there's the Potobos there. That's something.
I remember when SMW Randomizer first came out, and a lot of really accomplished Super Mario World players were having a very hard time just playing Tubular the right way. Who thought that the balloon was in the top block, but it's actually in the lower block right there. He'll take one more loop around. He had the right idea. He knew what he was doing.
And here we go.
That perfect timing. Average Guardian reversing the D-pad controls, causing him to go right into a spike, losing both of his capes. He didn't just lose the one he was wearing, but that also instantly dropped his other cape, which caused it to scroll off screen.
Also, Orb.
There could not have been a more perfect timing for reversing those controls.
And we start out in Vanilla Door 6 of Bowser's Castle. Not a place you want to be without a power-up.
Just be glad that they've got cape. Or they've got water.
Dode just having a heck of a time here so far with Door 6 from Vanilla Bowser's Castle. It's a long room.
For sure.
Alright, inverted controls has ended. I'm sure Dode breathes a sigh of relief here, because this room with inverted controls, no thank you.
It's only a matter of time. I've been watching chat. Average Guardian is trying to throw Grand Pooh Bear a bone as much as possible and throwing as much as he can at Dode to try to slow him down. I mean, I get it. I see what's happening, and I like it. I like this. The chat is working together. They're cheering for the underdog. They're cheering for the people's champ. The people's speedrunner. Dode's playing it fast and loose here, trying to get that cape, and he gets it. I think that's going to really pay off for him.
Well, he knows his controls can invert at any point, so Dode's trying to act quickly here. He knows the chat's onto him. That's the thing. If you're the person out in front during these races, I would be terrified right now if I were in Dode's shoes. Dode is just powering forward as much as he can right now. It's gonna happen right now, Off. Here comes the inverts. I feel it.
It's only a matter of time.
And poor Pooh getting water in Larry, and somebody I believe sent him that cape, but no, he can't grab it.
Oh no!
No, poor Pooh.
Well, actually being oh no!
Oh.
The water spell wore off at exactly the wrong time.
Oh, poor Pooh. He's trying. He's doing well. Again, please follow both of these racers. They have infinite patience to do this right now. And I'm impressed by both of their skills throughout this race.
Average Guardian tried to help out with that water spell, but it turned off at exactly the wrong time. I mean, that's really the effect that you have here with these bit races. You know, your credit going toward paying for these events, these actions to happen in game, they make a bigger impact than you understand. I mean, adding water to a level that can really help or hurt or both in some cases. So.
On Pooh gets sent to Star, and now there's a wall. No. Chat is trying to help the People's Champion, and we're seeing why he's called the People's Champion, because they are trying to give him a great help throughout this.
Dode is just making really clean work of this gauntlet here. 8 rooms in a row, terminated with the dark room. It can be a little bit hard to see what's going on, but Dode knows what's going on.
Yeah, Dode has already made dark room here now. Let's see if this Bowser fight's underwater or not. Makes a difference. Nope, no underwater. Underwater Bowser is terrifying. Now, both these players have faced an underwater Bowser in their respective Kaizo hacks, but still, nobody likes to see that.
Yeah, if you want a little secret from the commentator, you know, just to help you guys out, Phase 3 of Bowser with water on is nearly impossible, so I'm just saying, if you're looking to have a last-minute Hail Mary, a last-minute impact on this race, that's your real chance. The 3rd phase of this fight with water on is just... it's almost unplayable.
Also, can you get squished in this room with Roy? I want to say no.
No, I think it stops once it gets really tight.
Okay. Oh, and Dode takes a death.
Dode's gonna have to take another crack at the gauntlet, but Pooh still doesn't know where Special World is. So Pooh has now found, I believe, if I've been keeping track, which I absolutely have not, I believe Pooh just found his 5th castle and finished it. That means all he has left, as far as I can tell, is Special World. He has to go back and find it. And if you've never played Super Mario World Randomizer, the process of, at the end, going back and trying to find Special World, that's tough. That's really hard because you have to try every single nook and cranny until one pays out.
So, I didn't know if you had caught that, but Dode, right at the end there, took the death to Bowser due to inverted controls in the middle of Cape Kill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was a chat special right there, just right in the middle of Cave Kill. Well timed by the chat.
Dode's already done Special World. He has all 7 castles. If he finishes Bowser's castle, this race is over for him. All castles races terminate in Bowser's castle. So Dode would not have even entered Bowser's castle without having what he needed.
Whoa, what happened there to Dode?
LinkDead added something. Let me take a look at what his request was. I missed it.
Something had happened where it looked like the Chuck killed Dode in one hit, even though it seemed like he was holding a feather at the time. Can you deal a hit to Mario or Luigi?
Let's see. Oh my god. I just...
What? What? Tell me what happened there. I'm interested. Or chat, tell me what happened.
I think that might... Okay, so that's perhaps a little bit unfair. So in order to balance this level out, time is set to 0, so that players won't die to time. But if you order time up 1 second, that turns the timer back on to be 1 second left in the stage. So, I mean...
The only way Dode clears this then is if people gift Dode time, it seems like, because otherwise they can destroy Dode at any point with that, because the timer is set to 0 by default here.
Yeah. So, if there's a generous donor out there, your best bet is going to be giving him a lot of time to fill up his timer. But the ability to take his timer away is a little bit overpowered right here. Yeah, it looks like we got another person who's going to take a crack at doing the exact same thing. Let's see when this one registers. Oh, well.
Well, we might not get a chance to see to finish this.
Yeah, this is an interesting combination of bit race mechanics with randomizer mechanics. I mean, that's gonna end up being a big deal. Yeah, I think that's really unfair. In the meantime, all it seems like we can really do is
I would say in the future for this, probably set the timer to 99999 or 3 nines. I mean, excuse
all right. So
me.
it looks like chat has thrown Dode a bone. Thank goodness, because I will say that despite how great Dode has been playing, he's definitely been the butt of chat's ire, throwing a lot of really terrible stuff at him. And someone was very kind and sent him two separate people sent him about 500 seconds. So now he's at almost 1,000 seconds. So it will take the combined effort of chat to wear that down, but
I'm sure Dode is relieved right now, as I would be. I mean, if I was at 0 seconds knowing that someone could just, bit and kill me at any point, like, dang, that's harsh.
yeah, that's a combined total of $10 spent just for Dode to have a shot on this attempt. Ultimately, if he dies, he goes back to being in the same scenario we were in before, so hopefully he really clutches out this attempt right here. I think chat will ultimately be very hard-pressed to wear down the timer before he can get to Bowser. But it's not unrealistic to think that some big pocket cheerer will send 1,000 bits just to mess with Dodecahedron.
And chat has sent Dode 2 feathers here to try to help out with the situation.
Chat is determined to help Dode weather this storm.
Oh no, somebody just took 100 seconds! It's on! The chat has declared it on Dode. We don't know what's going to happen here, but dang!
Yeah, this is an interesting. So this is the first, to my knowledge, at least public. This is the first Super Mario World bit race that has taken place. So this is an unexpected side effect of multiple mechanics in Super Mario World. Super Mario World is a surprisingly complicated game. Setting a stage's timer to 0 implicitly turns off the timer, but now we've never seen what happens when chat can add a second to it. That's enough to mess with him.
Yeah, I think chat making that discovery has made things a lot more interesting than I had initially thought it was going to be going into this gauntlet. Well done again by the chat. Taking a look at what's going on and deciding, how can we make this the worst case scenario for Dode? It's scary.
Someone in chat is writing a byte directly to the ROM, assuming that command actually works. And I'm really interested to see what that does, because I have no idea what that byte is.
It said failed to unpack block on Dode's side of the screen.
I'm so very curious about what all these things mean.
Meanwhile, Pooh is looking through Star World right now. Probably not a bad strategy here, trying to uncover all the tiles in the Overworld so he can narrow down his search for Special World and the rest of the castles that go with it.
So, to reiterate, in reality, Dode got very lucky encountering the Special World tile very early. This is not always the case for Super Mario World Randomizer, and this is one of the big elements of randomness when it comes to Super Mario World Randomizer, is whether or not you can actually encounter the Special World tile early enough. And so, what we're dealing with here is Pooh has played a really great game so far, but unfortunately now he is playing the game that many of us find ourselves in when we play Super Mario World Randomizer, and that's the old hunt down Special World at the end.
Well, chat could still destroy Dode here on Bowser, by the way. I mean, they could give him water, they could take away the rest of his time. Are they gonna let him dank a little bit, give him a water spell, and then take away his time, which would be very evil but effective here in getting Pooh back into this? We'll see what chat decides in terms of Dode's fate. Now, I believe time has been removed here, also. Does that mean Dode cannot die of time now?
I'm not sure.
I don't know what's going to happen if Chad actually adds or subtracts time here, because this is the Bowser fight and there is no timer here.
Yeah, I'd have to hear from someone like Kaizoman who knows a little better than I do, or really anyone in chat who knows a little better than I do, but I don't know what happens if your time runs out in Bowser. I don't know if the timer just turns off here or what.
Oh boy, one hit on each cycle. The only hope that the people's champ has left for this is if the water stays on and the controls get inverted. But then again, it's only one hit, so we'll see what Dode does here. Can't take away time anymore.
Yeah, Kaizoman is confirmed. There's literally no timer in the Bowser fight, so your ability to just remove time from him is going to be a lot less effective. This part right here is very difficult with water on, and I'm not sure it's going to get any easier if water randomly turns off at the wrong moment for him, so... You can do it. There he goes.
And there it goes. Congratulations to the winner of the race, Dodecahedron. And again, both players played amazingly. So again, please follow both of these racers. They have both done a tremendous job here. Special World was the decider here, as Oth and I were talking about early on in the race.
Yeah, this was a really, really great run between the two of them.
Also, you can't speedrun or randomizer Oth.
That's what I'm hearing. Grand Pooh Bear so badly wants to find Special World. Unfortunately, he's currently maybe barking up the wrong tree, but it's so hard to narrow down the locations, and a lot of it comes down to how much are you willing to risk. You know, in a race of randomizers, sometimes you'll choose to do Star World just so that you can uncover all those stars, because it cuts off a lot of what you have to do on the overworld when you're sort of trying to uncover spots.
Also, it's a valid run. Dode's clapping.
Very nice. I'd like to give a huge shout out, first off, to Kaizoman, because he's really the brains behind Super Mario World Randomizer. He did a ton of work to make it possible. I'm the code monkey, and also for putting on this bit race. You know, Carcat and the dev team for bit races, making this possible, being able to do these races with all these games, allowing chat to really get into them. These interactive races where chat can both be entertained and can participate. You know, it makes a huge difference.
And of course, we can't have a SMW randomizer without a few memes thrown in. I cannot wait until this fun music is over.
But you just said it was fun. I thought it was fun too.
It's air quotes fun on this music. Ugh.
My bad.
Alright, so I believe the second seed will be starting out. Someone was talking about a run back. Well, do I have good news for y'all? It looks like there will be a run back. So, keep those bits at bay. You will be able, now that you've seen what we can do with these elements, now we can really have fun in the second race. And speaking of fun in air quotes, here's that current stage again. This is Forced Evolution 2 with a current. Just know, if you ever come across this in a rando and you're only playing for fun, just run away from this stage, because it's long, it's taxing. If you don't have a Yoshi, clipping through it's not an option, and it's not fun. So don't do this stage.
Yeah, I mean, we have the benefit of knowing that Pooh is barking up the wrong tree, but he's also trying to narrow down his overworld situation, which is actually, in the context of a race, a really smart decision to make. You really want to narrow down your options so that when you go back to the overworld, now that he's touched all of these Star World tiles, that means when he goes back to the overworld and he looks at it, he'll actually see where all those star tiles are. So he knows he doesn't even have to look at those because they map to Star World entrances. So now he can just check whatever's left at that point.
I think we're going to see more things done with time in round 2. What do you think, Off?
I think so. It looks like we're probably going to restart the server pretty soon, and players can go ahead and type !free to get their free credit again. And that credit can be either pooled with other people or pooled with any bits that you decide that you want to cheer in order to pay for events in the game itself. So I think we're going to start getting set up for the other race pretty soon. We'll let you know when the server restarts, though.
Now, chat was asking if they can donate for, or if they could use bits to obtain orb for one of the players. I want to say no. I don't think that's in the programming right now.
No.
No. Okay. Just wanted to double check and ask for chat's sake.
So I think we're gonna see the server restarting pretty soon. In the meantime, enjoy Grand Pooh Bear suffering, much like both of them have been suffering this whole time. Except for this one suffering at the hands of the randomizer rather than at the hands of the viewers. He so badly just wants to get to the end, but as you can see, between the lag in this level, which is very real with how many enemies there are actually at the bottom of the stage, and the current pushing against him, I mean, this level will take minutes to beat. This is actually, interestingly, a bug in the randomizer. Any level that has water added is not supposed to be able to have the current added as well, just because it causes this effect. But actually, the randomizer has been broken for, oh, I don't know, forever, and I have that logic reversed, so... I just thought I'd admit it, this is the sort of professionalism I'm dealing with here. Known bugs. So he's opting to take the normal exit here just to see what happens. And boy, is he going to be bummed out if he finds out that's not the right one, because that means he gets to come in and do this one a second time. So that whistling Chuck down there just woke up every single Rip Van Fish. Yikes.
You don't want to see that happen at the end of Forced Evolution 2 with these elements in it.
Now, most people would not have the perseverance to push through this, but Grand Pooh Bear, he knows what's at stake. He knows he needs to see what's at the other end.
I think the only thing worse than playing this level more than once or even twice is this music in addition to it. I think Chad is right on with that comment.
Music's beautiful.
No. Now, Oth, are we doing another all castles again, or will there be a different category for this next race?
if I have to imagine, I'd say that we're probably going to see them do no Star World for the next one. It's kind of nice to mix it up a little bit. All Castles has a huge swing of randomness in it, but I think a lot of people enjoy that aspect of it. Whereas for No Star World, the randomness is much more controlled. It's more about which path do you take in World 3, which path do you take in World 7, do you find the right exits at the right times. But for the most part, the randomness is much more controlled. I think a lot of people enjoy All Castles because it has a lot more of that exploration feel to it. Yeah, the next race is going to be Dodecahedron versus Grand Pooh Bear again.
And again, while we're setting up the next race again, please be sure once more to follow both of these runners. They both have wonderful streams. Their talents are amazing, especially when it comes to Kaizo Mario. Please give both of these runners a follow. You will not be disappointed. And Pooh makes it across the long-awaited Forest of Illusion 2 finish line.
Let's just hope that this is the exit he wanted.
You always gotta hope that. Not much can be done with that right now for Grand Pooh Bear, unfortunately. But it was the right exit in terms of getting everything done for Forest of Illusion 2. He doesn't have to go back in there. Right now, he's just narrowing down where he can and can't go. So I'm pretty sure Pooh now knows where he's supposed to go.
So that does actually play a big role in narrowing down the information he needed. He wants to figure out what spaces are still available to enter Special World, and this tells him that. This tells him the information he needed to know.
Yeah, I believe that takes care of most of the spots where Pooh could possibly go. And there it is. Pooh thinks it's elsewhere. It could possibly be, at least in his mind, it could be where the initial entrance to Star World is, especially used in any percent. I believe we're going to be starting the next race soon.
Yeah, we're looking at what's going on. I think we were originally thinking that Pooh might play it out, but I think he's going to want to go ahead and move on to the next race. You know, this is what happens with All Castles Randomizer. It can be really challenging because you sort of have to be mindful the whole race about looking out for Special World, figuring out when you're getting toward the end of the line that your options for finding it start to shrink. And so you really have to take special care to try to root out where it's actually located. So I think Pooh at this point could be told where it was, he could find it, but I think we're maybe going to move on to the next race pretty soon. I'm going to see what happens. So Pooh's looking at some of his options, some stages that he might have overlooked previously, trying to see whether or not he can he can find the special world entrance. So I think we've actually got Dode in chat. I was going to talk to him a little bit about this race, how he felt about the chat's involvement in some of this. How do you think the race went, Dode?
I think it went, for lack of better words, swimmingly.
A lot of water. The chat really seemed to enjoy the water, and I feel like it affected you more than anyone.
It turns out water can be just as helpful as much as it hurts you.
Yes, we got 2 really great clips out of it, so expect to see those on repeat in the future.
I'm definitely looking forward to the clips. There were some definitely highlight-worthy moments.
There were a few really great moments where someone in chat with a clear motivation to help Graham Pooh Bear, for instance, would give him water and he would make use of it, and then it would turn off at just the wrong moment. So I feel like no matter what the viewer's intentions were, it had both effects, just like you said.
Yeah, and shout-outs to LinkDead for adding 1 second in the gauntlet.
Yeah, LinkDead with his gigantic brain, you should honestly see the size of his head. It's a problem. It really is.
He's got 200 IQ.
He's got 200 IQ and 200 cubic centimeters to his skull. But he used his massive brain to say, okay, I know the timer's set to 0. I bet if I add 1 second, it's going to mess with things. And boy, howdy, did chat really enjoy that.
Yeah, that was fun. I got to do the gauntlet a couple times, so that was nice.
I mean, by the end of it, you were pretty much an expert, though.
Yeah. I think by far the thing that messed with me most was the button and D-pad swap.
Yeah, the chat was commenting and we were commenting how impressed we were with both of you. A lot of people with bit races will sometimes get the inverted D-pad and will say, I'm just going to wait this out. There's no way that I can continue making progress like this. But you guys both were really great sports about just saying, screw it. The chat came here to see a show, and I'm going to show them what it looks like when my controller's messed up.
Yeah, I think it's most fun for everyone that way.
What's the point of D-pad invert if you're not going to go with it?
No, for certain.
Exactly. I tell you right now, just being on emulator is harder for me than D-pad invert. So.
Yep, we were talking about that as well. We had actually mentioned that playing on emulator is probably almost as much, if not more of an obstacle than inverted D-pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
I have a much bigger problem with that. Like, I feel like I have, my reaction time is way different, I guess. I don't know. Like, by the time I see something happening, I'm dead. With this, am I going the right way for Special World?
I think
do you want to know where it is?
Yeah.
Where is it? I cannot find Special World.
South of Donut Secret House.
Exit south of Donut Secret House?
Oh, I just found it. I literally just found it. Well, there we go.
Yeah, Dode had found that through his first pass through Donut Plains, and that was really the major determiner of this race.
Yeah, you guys both kept pretty well with each other. I mean, Dode obviously had to play an extra 7 levels, and he was keeping his paces, but it really was that just early luck of finding secret, a special world that really made the big difference here.
Yeah, I thought my plan was just go to Bowser and get the star there, but then I was like, wait, what if there's not a star at Bowser? And then start looking around. But honestly, that was just a horrible plan in general. That was just a bad plan. It was a flawed idea from the start.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think we're gonna start to get set up. Do you guys have any other words you want to say about the bit races? I feel like a lot of the impact that the chat had, and I mean, there's probably a lot more really great ideas to come from Carcat and the team. But what do you guys think about the bit races with Super Mario World Randomizer so far? It seems like there's a lot of neat ideas here. Some things that maybe need a little tweaking, but
yeah, I think there's a lot more potential than I initially thought there would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, this is my second. I've got to do Link to the Past now, and this is my second one. And I've got both, by the way, gotten smashed in both races, and this is the most fun I've ever had because it's just, I don't know, it's so wild and interesting, and I don't know, I feel like this is the future of games. This is the only way I want to play games, honestly, is with chat messing me up.
Yeah, the chat interaction really just makes it a fantastic time. I think they're ready for us to go ahead and get started with the next race, so I think we'll let you guys go, and good luck in the upcoming race.
Good luck.
Do we want to do all castles or no star?
Let's do no Star World. I think less of a random swing to it.
Yeah.
Okay.